You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 204. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where we talk about what really happens when you take a break from drinking. And it turns out to be the best thing you've ever done. I'm Anna, coach to high achievers who are done waking up with regret and ready to feel in control around alcohol. If you've ever wondered what your life could look like with less wine and more you're in the right place. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, to the 90 Days Later podcast, where we change your relationship with alcohol. All right, today we're talking about something that most people who drink or think they drink too much have done, but it's not often something that we really, I think, spend an awful lot of time talking about. And it is pre-gaming, which is the drink before the drink, right? We do tackle this. Often people tackle this, but it's not one of the main things they tackle. So this is the drink where, you know the one. It's the one where you're getting ready to go out. Maybe you've got the music on. Maybe you're putting on your lipstick. Maybe you're in the bath and you've got a glass of wine in your hand, right? You pour it because you're going out. It's kind of like this anticipatory thing. It's a little ritual, in fact. It's like, okay, now I'm in the mood, right? Now I'm in the mood. We're going out. It's going to be special. I'm going to have a drink. I remember this well. Now, for me, it was often a glass of white wine in the bath before heading out. Before when we go out, I love to sit and have a bath. I think baths are just the most glorious thing. And so that would be my routine. I'd do that, and I'd be thinking about what I'm going to wear, getting my special dress ready, and I'd have a glass of wine. Why not, right? We're going out. It's fun time. It felt like part of the getting ready process. In fact, it became part of the getting ready process in the same way that I would need to put shoes on to leave the house. And maybe I would need my walking to the event shoes, and I'd need to plan my wearing during the evening shoes. So that would be a whole sub process. And then, pouring a glass of wine would be a part of that. But here's the thing, this is not random, right? This pre-gaming, it's more than just a glass of wine before we go out. There's usually a purpose. In fact, there's inevitably a purpose. And this is, as with all of my work, right? We want to start by asking why. Now, why do we do this? For some people, it's about wanting to feel the celebration before the celebration, right? We really want to get into that celebratory mood. This is you if you're really about just making the experience bigger and bigger, right? Celebration is great. More celebration is better. So you're thinking, of course, I want to feel like I'm getting the party started. I mean, who doesn't? You're going out. It's going to be fun. But this doesn't mean we have to have a drink to feel that way. The issue becomes when we connect heavily with a big fat line, right? The idea of going out to have a good time and having a drink. And then if we then start to remove that pre-gaming drink, it's like, what? The brain goes, right? Aren't we doing this fun thing? This is not what we normally do. So it's, in this case, it's all about the excitement, about the sense of anticipation, right? That's already in me, and we're kind of hyping it up. Now, for many other people, and I did sit on this side as well, especially when it was work events, right? I'd have to go. I know, yes, it was a choice, but it was part of my job. There was an expectation on me as a leader and one of the big organizational leaders to go to these huge, and I'm talking thousands of people events where all of the reseller partners would go, a lot of the key account customers would go, we'd fly in, obviously lots of the team members from all around the world would come in, and for them, especially the more junior members of the team, it was just a fantastic opportunity for them to get to know the corporate and the customers and so on. And, I was an expected face there. I had to turn up and be social and talk to all these people, and this was quite excruciating for a large number of years for me. When I get to know someone, that's fine, but oh my gosh, all this small talk, it was quite challenging. I did learn how to cope with it differently, but to start with, it was I'm feeling really anxious. I'm going to have a drink here. And it's all about, really, it was that flutter of anxiety before going to the event. So I wasn't, think about this, I wasn't even at the event. I didn't even know if it was going to be terrible. I didn't even know how it was going to go. I was just kind of anticipating. I was sort of thinking ahead of time, it's going to be so bad. And it was that worry, right? The worry ahead of time. What was I going to say? How was I going to act? Was I going to feel relaxed once I was there? Was it going to feel like the longest time in the world? And of course, if you're thinking that way, you're going to feel a bit anxious. I mean, this is one of the things I want to offer you, right? It's completely normal. If you're worried about that, you're going to feel anxious. And if you are not a social butterfly, and if that's the case, you are in good company. I'm not a social butterfly by any stretch of the imagination, and that's fine with me. If this is you, it helps, I think, to remind yourself, if you're in this scenario, rather than sort of saying, come on, you can do it, right? Go, go, go. And that can feel so false. It's like, if that had worked, it would have worked 10 years ago. It can be really helpful to remind yourself, look, you're probably not the only one feeling this way. Even if you're going to a small gathering, right? If there's probably someone else out there who's feeling to some extent the same way. Most people have their own version of this pre-event tension. We just don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. They don't advertise it. We don't normalize this. So we think we're the only one. So, and you're probably not. And so whether you're drinking for excitement, right, to kind of amp up the excitement, or whether you're drinking because you're feeling really anxious and you want to bring that emotion down, pre-gaming is essentially emotional prep. Right? It's preparing yourself emotional. You're sort of getting your ducks in a row. It's how your brain has learned to manage the anticipation of celebration, or the anticipation of anxiety. And there are likely other emotions too. I just want to use those two as examples here today. So our brain has learned to manage that anticipation by using alcohol to shift our state before we even walk out of our front door. Right, so we're feeling anxious, so we think, okay, that's a problem. I need to not feel anxious, so I'm going to use wine to feel less anxious. And you see, we're doing that way ahead of even if we think we are even going to need it. Not that we need to do this as an approach, but we're really, deciding ahead of time this is going to be too much for ourselves. And listen, once that pattern is in place, of course, your brain is going to link the drink to the transition itself. Of course. You're not just drinking before you go out. You're teaching your brain that to feel ready, I drink first. To feel like I'm going to get maximum enjoyment and celebration, I need to drink first. In order to cope with the anxiety and just, that feeling of dread, I need to drink first. And this is why it becomes such a strong ritual. It is not just about the drink. It's about who you're becoming in that moment and what you're telling yourself. It's about maybe the more confident, the more relaxed, or the more social version of yourself, and the way we are attributing responsibility for that to the wine. Now, the good news with this very discreet moment, right, called pre-gaming or pre-drinking, I believe this is one of the easiest parts of the habit, of the over-drinking habit, to shift. Simply because it is such a discrete, defined moment. And you are likely have a very specific flavor of it for yourself. Right? So if you're someone who wants to go in there and amp out the celebration, it's unlikely you're going to be really on the social anxiety scale too. Maybe to some extent you'll have that. But it's likely that you're going to understand what's going on here. You're going to know exactly when this happens, and you're going to know why. Well, you can ask yourself why, and you will see why, right? This is one of the clearest reasons why. It's not like a vague, well, it's after work or because it's Friday night and that's a trigger, right? It's happening when you're getting ready, and it ends when you leave the house, right? So it's a very discrete, specific moment in time. This means you can plan for it. This means you can experiment with it. You can try stuff out. You can practice new ways to move through that window, that transition window, without using the drink to set the tone. Now, if you're someone who pre-games because you're excited, right, because you really want to feel that buzz of anticipation, I want you to start by noticing what that feeling actually is. That sense of sparkle and energy, you know what it is? It's dopamine. You've already got it flowing. You do not need a drink to create it. Your brain is already generating it in response to what's coming. This is just like when you were little. I remember when I was little, December took forever because of Christmas. I was perpetually excited every single day in December, and nothing had changed, right? It was just, these were just normal days. It was just my brain going there. Think about, so that's that one sense of looking for enjoyment. And now let's look at how this maybe can be an easier element of the habit to tackle. I want you to think about when you are, so let's say you have a propensity to want to be overly enthusiastic and pre-celebratory in your pre-gaming. Now I want you to think about an evening maybe where you've been nominated as the designated driver, right? Or for some reason you will not be drinking. You're going to be going out to a party. You're still going out to the party, but for some reason, and it's a really good reason, it's a reason you are not arguing with, right? That you're the designated driver. I knew somebody once and her daughter was quite poorly for a time, and she loved to drink. When she was going out, especially when the child was then obviously being babysat, she wouldn't drink, because it was important to her that if she got a call about her daughter, she could get back and take her to hospital or help her, right? And that reason was so much more important for her when going out than the idea of having a drink. So I want you to think about that when you are going out and you know for sure you're not going to be drinking, you're going to a party and you're good with that. Now, most people I talk to don't even miss in that sector. They don't even miss the pre-going out drink, right? Because they're too focused on what they will enjoy when they get there, right? So that's going on. But let's say you are fine with let's take it a notch down. I don't mind being the designated driver, but I'm still not sure if the evening's going to be as good, right? We're in that kind of bucket now. It's another category. Even in that scenario, you are less likely to miss that pre-gaming drink because that's more an optional thing, right? Our brain is going to be focused more on, I'm going to be really missing out tonight at the party. We're not going to be putting all of our attention onto our pre-gaming drink, which makes it, I believe, such a great one to knock off and to tackle, because it's not the drink itself that's special. It's really what you associate it with, and as with everything, really, when you're in this profile of drinker type. But this is such a discrete, specific moment in time. It makes it tackleable, right? You really can believe that you don't need a drink to feel in the celebration mood, because you are already feeling that way, right? We already can see we're feeling really excited. So we can keep the music, we can keep the vibe, we can keep the lipstick, we can keep the bath, we can keep all the excitement. We just want to know it's ours and not the drinks. So I want to start by looking at that. Now, if you are in the other category I mentioned earlier, if your reason for pre-gaming is confidence, right? If you drink to feel more relaxed or less tongue-tied, start by noticing what you think alcohol gives you. Maybe it is the permission to speak your mind freely. Maybe it's to help mute that nasty voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, and why on earth are you having to pre-game? It's because, you're such a social wallflower and there's something so wrong with that. Maybe that drink is helping you feel like you belong, like, at least I won't feel so weird tonight. These are real needs. We don't want to sort of wave our hand and say that's not important. These are real needs. We want to accept this of ourselves, but we also can see that they do not need to be met with alcohol. Confidence is not in something you pour. It really isn't. It's in something you practice. The more you practice pouring and drinking, of course, the more you're going to rely on that to feel confident. Right? The more you are willing to go and see what works, even if you don't feel confident, right? We don't always have to feel confident. The more we practice that, the better we get at it. It's about learning to walk into a room as yourself, not as the slightly edited version you think people expect or you think people will like. They will like you. And if they don't, they're not your people, right? We want to really stop giving other people all this power over ourselves. So pre-gaming is, I think, such a great entry point for change because it's small, specific, and very self-contained. If you want to experiment this week, just start there. Start with the pre-gaming. You don't have to change the whole night. Just that little window before you leave. Just notice what you're feeling. what you're telling yourself, and try one different thing. I'm really a proponent of just try one thing. If it doesn't work, try something else. This, my friend, is how you start to build confidence that lasts, right? This is how we tackle this. And if this part of the evening, right, this pre-gaming resonates with you, the pre-gaming, the nerves, the automatic, just one while I'll get ready. This is the kind of work I tackle in my one-on-one coaching. However that shows up for you. We break down these small moments that keep you stuck, and we turn them into opportunities for real freedom, right? The kind where drinking starts to feel optional until it becomes optional. And listen, we've got the holidays coming up. This is a brilliant time to start, right? We're going to have all those parties, all those opportunities for hanging out with family. Oh, yes. All the family do's are coming, right? Lots of opportunity. Because if you're somebody who tolerates all that and you only can get through your life with a drink, this is the work we can start. And you will have oodles and oodles of opportunity to practice, right? You can just go out there and learn, and we will review each week. Because you can walk into every event feeling grounded, feeling confident, and completely yourself. No pre-gaming required. And that is actually a lot more accessible to you than you might imagine. So when you want that, if you're listening and you think, yeah, I really resonate, Anna, with what you say, right? If you're the type of person that doesn't really think about a drink until it's 5 o'clock and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm on automatic pilot here. I am your girl. I can help. Book a free discovery call with me in the show notes. We have that call because I want to make sure we're a good fit. Right? I want to tell you we want to listen to where you are, and we're going to talk about where you want to go, and I will build the exact plan to get you there. Let us make this the season where you really learn to feel great before the party even begins. So go ahead, book that call, and then I will see you next week. If this episode hit home and you're ready to explore what life could look like with alcohol in the backseat, let's talk. I work with people one-on-one who are ready to create the relationship with alcohol that works for them, so they feel powerful in their choices and at peace with their habits. Go to 90dayslater.co and click on book a call, or grab one of the free guides in the show notes to this episode. And if this podcast is helping you, a rating or review goes a long way to help others find this work too.